Hello, Richmond and surrounding areas. This is Andrew Lyman-Clarke, and welcome to my YouTube style video contribution to Graham's Art Colony endeavor. I'm here in New York City, in Brooklyn, right near Prospect Park, and I'm at my studio where I do a lot of my creation. You can see behind me is my editing station. I've got the computer there, my monitor, which I watch edited material on. Over here is some plants and some other supplies and my CDs, which inspire me to create. And then over here, if I can get the exposure right, we've got my Dream Machine, which is a spinning light device which induces a dreamlike creative state. And then my other computer where I write screenplays, and my calendar is on the wall there, which keeps me organized. So that's pretty much the creation station, as I like to call it. And I just wanted to talk a little bit today about art, my views on it, why it's important. So there was a conversation that me and Graham had a number of years ago. We used to talk a lot about art and what is the point of art, and we had this one blowout conversation that lasted like a whole day pretty much, and by the end of it we had come to the conclusion that art is nothing but communication. The two are almost synonymous. So that was very influential to me, and I still believe that art is just communication, and it needs to be that in order to really work as art. So Graham and I, we actually worked on this script for a while, which we called the Communication Movie. It was a screenplay, and the movie was about, as I recall, a young man who's really driven to communicate, and he's frustrated because he feels like he's not communicating well enough with the people around him, and he really wants to break through that. So, like a lot of our scripts, it had a party sequence in it. It actually opened with a shot going into those big sliding doors of Graham's barn, and the barn was going to be sort of a metaphor for the mind or something, a microcosm, but it had a party scene in it, and at the party the guy gets increasingly frustrated because he's trying to communicate with people and he feels like he's not succeeding, so he leaves the party in a tizzy, and he goes out into the woods and he starts digging this hole. Like all of his pent-up desire to communicate is channeled into digging this hole. And that was the only scene of the movie, aside from that first shot, that we actually filmed. And it turned into a short film called Dig, where I basically just dig a hole for 5 minutes. And at the end, I'm just sort of in the bottom of the hole. So basically, 10 years later, I still feel like I'm digging that hole. I'm still trying really hard to communicate like important ideas, and yes, it is frustrating. The pursuit of art and communication can be very frustrating at times because it's very rare that people really understand like your message, just like other types of communication. Sometimes it's hard to get certain things across, but on the other hand, it's very validating, it's very satisfying when people do understand what you're trying to say. It totally, validates the entire project when somebody's like, this is what I got out of it, and you say, that's great, because that's pretty much what I was hoping people would get out of it. Or somebody might say, this is what I got out of it, and you say, wow, that's really interesting. I can, that's a really valid interpretation that brings me more understanding of what I was trying to do. So another thing about trying to be an artist is that there is a lot of resistance, and sometimes it's hard to like respect oneself or to feel respected by others, because like this particular culture, you know, there's not a lot of like government support for artists, and you know, there can be a feeling like artists aren't like real contributors to society, and you know, and some artists sometimes are seen as sort of self-indulgent, but when art is really working, it's completely the opposite. It's, instead of being self-indulgent, it's selfless, and it does really contribute to the society, you know, which gave birth to it. Like when I say selfless, when I say art can be very selfless, I'm thinking in particular of the craft of acting, which is something that I've studied a bit, and as a filmmaker, I have to know something about it. But when acting is done properly, it involves the actor completely giving up. So they have to lose themselves in the moment and in the role, to the point where there's no self-consciousness whatsoever, and all of their hang-ups and all of their shame and all of their desire to control their own emotions and everything, that all goes out the window, and they have to be completely open to whatever emotion is needed, you know, for that scene or that film, so they can, you know, just completely cry or lose themselves in rage or you know, tenderness, or you know, falling in love, or like confusion. They might look really stupid, you know, but it's hard, and a lot of actors don't understand that like you have to be open to, you know, looking a way that you might not want to necessarily look during the course of your normal life. But that's part of what acting is. It's selfless. You're giving something to people by being vulnerable, by showing you know, a very secret and vulnerable part of yourself to the world. You're giving something to everybody else, and like I said, it's not well understood, but when it happens, it's magical, and everybody knows that something important and truthful has transpired, and it becomes art. There was a movie called Tarnation by Jonathan Coet, where he made a documentary using footage from throughout his life, and a lot of it was him as a young man doing impressions of his mother, and talking about his own life in a really frank way. And it's just such a great example of this selfless act of giving, because he's talking about all these really awkward, painful experiences that he had, including his mother having a mental illness and having received shock treatment all throughout her young life, like all throughout her early life, and how it just completely made her insane. And also how he's realizing that he's gay, and how that just all of it added up to, you know, a tumultuous life, basically. And it's a very moving film. I definitely recommend it. It got the longest standing ovation ever recorded at the Cannes Film Festival. So it was very effective, because he totally abandoned all self-restraint and all shame and control that most people walk around with all day long, and he just put it all out there, and it's so refreshing to see that. And it's like I said, it's very moving, very life-affirming, and it's definitely art.